I saw my DIL throwing my granddaughter's blanket away. I picked it up and saw. The morning started like any other Tuesday. I was in my kitchen, preparing my second cup of coffee. The good one, the one I actually sat down to enjoy after the rushed first cup that just gets me functional, when I heard the garbage truck rumbling down our quiet suburban street. The sound triggered a memory. I'd forgotten to put out my recycling bin the night before. I'm Margaret Hayes, 68 years old, and I've lived in this neighborhood for 42 years. Long enough to know every family on the block, to remember when the Hendersons' oak tree was just a sapling, to have watched 3 generations of children ride their bikes down these sidewalks. My house sits on a corner lot, which means I have a clear view of my son's house directly across the street. My son, Daniel, his wife, Jessica, and my 7-year-old granddaughter, Lily, moved into that house 3 years ago. It had seemed like a dream come true at the time. My family, right across the street, close enough for impromptu visits and Sunday dinners, close enough for me to be a real presence in my granddaughter's life. Except it hadn't turned out quite the way I'd imagined. I grabbed my recycling bin and wheeled it out to the curb, still in my bathrobe and slippers. The November air was crisp, the kind of cold that makes your breath visible and your cheeks sting pleasantly. I was just positioning the bin when movement across the street caught my eye. Jessica, my daughter-in-law, emerged from her side door carrying a large black garbage bag. She was dressed for work already, a sharp gray pantsuit, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. Even from across the street, I could see the rigid set of her shoulders, the quick, efficient movements that characterized everything she did. I raised my hand to wave, a habit ingrained from years of friendly neighborhood interactions. But Jessica didn't see me, or perhaps she did and chose not to acknowledge me. With Jessica, it was always hard to tell. She walked briskly to their garbage cans at the side of the house and lifted the lid of the large bin. But instead of simply dropping the bag inside, she opened it and began pulling items out, examining them briefly before tossing them into the can. I should have gone back inside. I should have minded my own business, but something about the scene held my attention. There was a furtiveness to Jessica's movements, a quick glance toward the house, a hurried quality that seemed out of place for simple garbage disposal. Then I saw it. A flash of pink and yellow, a familiar pattern that made my heart constrict. Jessica pulled out a small blanket from the bag, Lily's blanket. The one my late wife, Claire, had made for our granddaughter when she was born. The last thing Claire had created before the cancer took her 3 years ago. Even from across the street, I recognized it. The soft pink fleece with yellow stars, slightly faded from years of love and washing. Claire had spent weeks on that blanket, hand-stitching each star, adding little embroidered details. A smiling moon in one corner, Lily's name carefully stitched along one edge in flowing script. Lily had carried that blanket everywhere for years. To preschool, to the doctor's office, to our house for sleepovers. She called it Grandma's hug because Claire had told her that every time she wrapped herself in it, it was like getting a hug from Grandma in heaven. And Jessica was throwing it away. I watched, frozen, as Jessica held the blanket for a moment, her face expressionless. Then, with a swift motion, she stuffed it deep into the garbage can and closed the lid. She grabbed the now empty black bag, walked back to the house, and disappeared inside. The garbage truck was 2 houses away. I didn't think, I just moved. My slippers flapped against the pavement as I hurried across the street. The garbage truck's hydraulic whine grew louder. I reached Jessica's driveway just as the truck stopped at the house next door. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid of their garbage can. The smell hit me first, coffee grounds, food waste, the sour odor of trash that had been sitting for a few days. I pushed aside a bag of what looked like kitchen scraps, another bag of general household waste, and there, wedged between 2 larger bags, was the pink and yellow blanket. I pulled it out quickly, glancing toward the house. Jessica's car was still in the driveway. She hadn't left for work yet. Any moment, she could look out the window and see me, her mother-in-law, literally digging through her garbage. The blanket was cleaner than I'd expected given its location. It smelled faintly of Lily's strawberry shampoo. I held it close, remembering Claire's arthritic fingers carefully stitching each star, her determination to finish this gift for her granddaughter even as her strength waned. "Can I help you with something?" I jumped, nearly dropping the blanket. Jessica stood at the corner of the house, her arms crossed, her expression cold and controlled. I saw you throw this away," I stammered, holding up the blanket. "Claire made this for Lily. Why would you throw it away?" Jessica's jaw tightened. "That's none of your business, Margaret." None of my business. This was my wife's last gift to her granddaughter. And it's filthy and falling apart, and my daughter doesn't need it anymore. Jessica's voice was level, professional, the same tone I imagined she used in boardroom meetings. "Lily is 7 years old. She needs to stop dragging around a baby blanket. It's time to let go of childish things." "But Claire made this. Lily loves it. You can't just throw it away." "I can do whatever I want with items in my own house." Jessica took a step closer, her heels clicking on the driveway. "And I'd appreciate it if you'd stop going through my garbage. It's disturbing." "I wasn't going through your garbage. I was rescuing my wife's handiwork from being destroyed." "Then take it. Keep it at your house if it means so much to you. But it's not coming back into my home, and I don't want you mentioning it to Lily. She doesn't need to be more attached to material objects than she already is." The garbage truck rumbled closer, now at the house directly next door. "Does Daniel know you threw this away?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Something flickered in Jessica's eyes, annoyance, maybe, or calculation. "Daniel agrees with me that Lily needs to mature beyond comfort objects. We're parenting our daughter the way we see fit. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get to work." She turned on her heel and walked back toward the house, then paused and looked back over her shoulder. "And Margaret, in the future, stay out of our garbage cans and our parenting decisions." She disappeared into the house. A moment later, I heard her car engine start. She backed out of the driveway without looking at me, without acknowledging my presence, and drove away. I stood there in my bathrobe and slippers, holding my late wife's blanket, as the garbage truck moved to Jessica's house and began emptying the cans I'd just been digging through. The blanket was slightly damp in one corner, probably from condensation in the garbage can. I held it up to examine it more closely in the morning light, and that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen from across the street. There was a small rip along one edge, near where Claire had embroidered Lily's name. The stitching was coming loose, and tucked into the ripped seam, barely visible, was a folded piece of paper. My heart began to pound. I pulled at the paper carefully, trying not to tear it. It was small, maybe 3 inches by 4 inches, folded multiple times. The paper was slightly yellowed, as if it had been there for a while. I unfolded it with shaking hands. The handwriting was childish but careful, the letters formed with the concentration of someone still learning to write in cursive. But the words themselves made my blood run cold. "Help me, Mommy says I'm bad. She hurts me when Daddy's not home. I'm scared. I hide this blanket in my closet so she can't find it. Please help me. I love you, Grandma. Lily." I read it 3 times, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of misunderstanding, some childish drama blown out of proportion, But the handwriting was unmistakably Lily's. I'd seen her homework papers, her thank you notes for birthday presents. This was her writing. "She hurts me when Daddy's not home." I looked at the house across the street, at my son's house, where my granddaughter lived, where apparently something terrible was happening. The garbage truck moved on down the street. A few neighbors were emerging from their houses, heading to their cars for the morning commute. The world was going on as normal, oblivious to the bomb that had just detonated in my hands. I clutched the blanket and the note to my chest and walked back across the street to my house, my mind racing. What did I do now? Call Daniel? Call the police? Talk to Lily first? The note was undated. When had she written this? Yesterday, last week, months ago. Inside my house, I spread the blanket carefully on my kitchen table and examined it more closely. The rip where I'd found the note wasn't the only damage. There were several small tears along different edges, and some of the embroidered stars were missing threads. It looked like the blanket had been through rough handling. Or maybe, I thought with growing horror, it had been ripped deliberately. I picked up my phone and pulled up Daniel's contact. My finger hovered over the call button. What would I say? "Your wife is abusing your daughter," based on a note that could have been written months ago about incidents I'd never witnessed. But I had witnessed something. I'd witnessed Jessica throwing away a precious family heirloom without a second thought. I'd witnessed her cold, dismissive attitude when confronted. I'd witnessed her explicit instruction not to mention the blanket to Lily. What was she trying to hide? I thought back over the past 3 years, trying to remember if there had been signs I'd missed. Lily had always seemed like a happy child, bright, cheerful, affectionate. But now that I was looking for them, I could remember things that seemed suddenly sinister. The time Lily had come to my house with a bruise on her arm, and Jessica had explained she'd fallen off her bike. I'd accepted that without question. The time Lily had been unusually quiet during a family dinner, barely eating, and Jessica had said she was just tired. I'd believed that too. The gradual reduction in how often I saw my granddaughter. Jessica always had reasons: too much homework, too many activities, Lily needed more routine. I'd been hurt but had tried to be understanding. Had I been blind? Had I missed the signs because I didn't want to see them? I looked at the note again. Please help me. My granddaughter needed help, and she'd reached out in the only way she could. By hiding a note in the one possession she knew I would care about, the one thing connected to her late grandmother. But Jessica had tried to throw it away. Had she known about the note? Or was she simply trying to force Lily to grow up by removing her comfort object? Either way, I had to do something. I refolded the note carefully and tucked it into my pocket. Then I took my phone and did something I'd never done before. I took photos of the blanket, close-ups of the tears and damaged embroidery, photos of the note, photos of everything. Evidence. I was collecting evidence. Then I called my daughter, Rebecca. She lived 2 hours away in the city, was a family law attorney, and had always been more perceptive about Jessica than I'd been. "Mom," she answered on the second ring, her voice concerned. "Is everything okay? You never call this early." "Rebecca, I need your advice, legal advice, and I need you not to interrupt until I've told you everything." There was a pause. "Okay, I'm listening." I told her everything. The blanket in the garbage, the confrontation with Jessica, the note, my growing suspicions, my memories of incidents that suddenly seemed suspicious. When I finished, Rebecca was quiet for a long moment. "Mom," she finally said, her lawyer voice fully engaged, "you need to call Child Protective Services." But what if I'm wrong? What if the note is old, or Lily was just upset about normal discipline, or... "Mom, a child wrote a note saying she's being hurt. That's not something you ignore or investigate on your own. That's something you report to professionals who are trained to handle this." "But it's Daniel's daughter, my granddaughter. What if I destroy their family over a misunderstanding? And what if you don't call and something worse happens? Mom, you know I've never liked Jessica. She's always been cold, controlling, manipulative. Daniel's been miserable since he married her, but he stays because of Lily. If Jessica is hurting that little girl..." Rebecca's voice cracked slightly. Lily was her niece, the only grandchild in our family. Rebecca had always doted on her. "What do?" I whispered. "You call CPS. You tell them what you found. You let them investigate. And Mom, don't tell Daniel yet. If Jessica is abusing Lily and Daniel tells Jessica that you're suspicious, she could hide evidence. She could coach Lily on what to say. You need to let the professionals handle this." "But Daniel will be furious with me. He'll think I'm attacking his wife, his family." "He'll get over it if it turns out to be nothing. He'll never forgive himself if it turns out to be something and you didn't act. Mom, you have to make this call." I knew she was right. But the thought of making that call, of setting in motion events I couldn't control, of potentially tearing my son's family apart. "I'll call," I said finally. "I'll call right now." "Good, and Mom, save that note. Save the blanket, don't wash it, don't repair it. Everything exactly as you found it. It's evidence. Okay. I love you. You're doing the right thing. I hope so. After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table for a long time, looking at the pink and yellow blanket with its damaged edges and missing stars. Claire's final gift to her granddaughter. A gift that might now save that granddaughter's life. Or destroy her family. I picked up my phone and dialed the number for Child Protective Services. The woman who answered at Child Protective Services had a kind but professional voice. She introduced herself as Mrs. Patterson and listened without interruption as I explained everything. The blanket, the note, my suspicions. "Mrs. Hayes," she said when I'd finished, "you did the right thing by calling. I need to ask you some questions and I need you to be as specific as possible. Can you do that?" "Yes." For the next 40 minutes, she asked me detailed questions. When had I found the note? What exactly did it say? Had I noticed any physical signs of abuse on Lily? Any behavioral changes? How often did I see my granddaughter? What was my relationship with Jessica like? With Daniel? I answered as honestly as I could, trying not to let my personal feelings about Jessica color my responses. But it was hard not to mention the coldness, the control, the way she'd slowly isolated Lily from me over the past year. "And you said the blanket was in good condition, except for these tears?" Mrs. Patterson asked. "Yes, it's well-loved but well-maintained. These tears look deliberate, not like normal wear and tear." "Okay, Mrs. Hayes, here's what's going to happen. Based on what you've told me, we're going to open an investigation. A caseworker will likely visit the home within the next 48 hours. They'll want to speak with Lily alone, and they'll probably want to speak with you as well." 48 hours. But what if something happens to Lily before then? If you believe your granddaughter is in immediate danger, you can call 911. But based on what you've described, this sounds like a pattern of behavior that requires investigation rather than immediate emergency intervention. The caseworker will be thorough. Should I tell my son? That's up to you, but I'd recommend waiting until after the initial visit. Parents who know an investigation is coming sometimes coach children on what to say or hide evidence. I know that's hard to hear about your own son, but I understand, though I didn't want to. I didn't want to believe Daniel would protect Jessica over Lily, but I also knew that people could be blind when it came to their spouses. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen feeling simultaneously relieved and terrified. I'd done it. I'd made the call. There was no taking it back now. The rest of Tuesday passed in a blur of anxiety. I kept glancing out my window at Daniel and Jessica's house, looking for what? Signs of abuse, evidence of normalcy. I didn't know. At 3:30 p.m., I saw the school bus stop at the corner. Lily climbed off, her purple backpack bouncing as she ran up the driveway. She looked happy, normal, like a regular 7-year-old coming home from school. Maybe I'd made a terrible mistake. But then I saw Jessica open the door. From this distance, I couldn't see her expression, but I could see her body language, stiff, controlled. She didn't hug Lily, didn't greet her with warmth, just stepped aside to let her in and close the door. That evening, I couldn't eat dinner. I kept the blanket folded carefully in my linen closet, the note tucked inside a Ziploc bag in my safe. Evidence, like Rebecca had said. Wednesday morning, I was sitting at my window with my coffee when I saw an unfamiliar car pull up to Daniel's house. A dark blue sedan, official-looking. A woman got out, middle-aged, professional attire, carrying a briefcase. The caseworker. My heart began to pound. This was really happening. I watched as the woman knocked on the door. After a moment, Jessica answered. Even from across the street, I could see her stiffen, her hand gripping the doorframe. The woman showed her something, ID, probably, and said something. Jessica's response was visible in her body language even if I couldn't hear the words. Defensive, resistant. But she stepped aside and let the woman in. The visit lasted almost 2 hours. I couldn't concentrate on anything else. I tried to read, to watch TV, to do anything to distract myself, but my eyes kept drifting back to that house. What was happening in there? Was Lily okay? Was she telling the truth? Would the case worker believe her? At 10:45 a.m., the case worker emerged. Jessica followed her onto the porch. I could see them talking, Jessica's arms crossed, her posture rigid. The case worker remained calm, professional, her body language open and non-threatening. Then Jessica turned and went back inside, slamming the door behind her. The case worker stood there for a moment, making notes on a tablet, then walked to her car and drove away. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Daniel. "Mom," his voice was tight, angry. "Did you call CPS on us?" My stomach dropped. "Daniel. Did you?" The case worker said someone made a report. She wouldn't say who, but the timing is pretty convenient, isn't it? Right after you and Jessica had that argument about Lily's blanket. "Daniel, I found something that concerned me. I had to." "You had to what?" "Accuse my wife of child abuse. Do you have any idea what you've done? Jessica is humiliated. They questioned Lily at school, took her out of class, made her feel like a criminal. And for what? Because you're bitter that Jessica doesn't let you see Lily as much as you want. That's not fair. Isn't it? You've never liked Jessica. You've never thought she was good enough for me. And now you're trying to destroy our family because of some garbage you found, literally found in our garbage." "I found a note, Daniel. A note from Lily saying she needed help, saying Jessica hurts her. Lily is 7 years old. She writes dramatic things when she's upset about normal discipline. Last month she wrote a note saying she wanted to run away because we made her turn off the TV. Kids do that. They exaggerate. But what if she's not exaggerating? What if something really is wrong?" "Nothing is wrong. You know what the case worker found? A happy, healthy, well-adjusted child living in a clean, safe home with 2 parents who love her. She found nothing because there's nothing to find." "Then why did Lily write that note?" "I don't know. Maybe she was mad about being grounded. Maybe she didn't like a timeout. Kids get upset about normal parenting and they dramatize. You should know that you raised me." I flinched. He was right about that. I remembered Daniel at 7, writing me notes saying he hated me after I'd sent him to his room. It was normal childhood behavior. But this felt different. "Daniel, I'm sorry if I overreacted, but I had to be sure. If there was even a chance that Lily was in danger." "She's not in danger. She's in danger of having her grandmother taken away because her grandmother can't respect boundaries. Jessica doesn't want you over here anymore, Mom. Not after this. You've destroyed her trust, you've violated our privacy, and you've traumatized our daughter." "I just wanted to protect her." "You wanted to attack Jessica. Well, congratulations, you succeeded. Don't call us, don't come over, we need space from you." He hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, feeling like the world had tilted sideways. Had I made a terrible mistake? Had I let my dislike of Jessica cloud my judgment? Had I traumatized my granddaughter for no reason? But the note had been real. Lily's handwriting, Lily's words. "She hurts me when Daddy's not home." I called Rebecca. "He hates me," I said when she answered. "Daniel hates me. He says the case worker found nothing, that I've destroyed their trust, that I can't see Lily anymore." "Mom, take a breath. Tell me exactly what happened." I recounted the morning's events, Daniel's phone call, his anger. "Okay," Rebecca said when I'd finished. "First of all, the investigation isn't over. One visit doesn't mean they found nothing. It means they need to investigate further. Second, Daniel's reaction is actually concerning." "What do you mean?" "He's defending Jessica pretty aggressively, shutting down any possibility that something might be wrong. That's either because he genuinely believes nothing is wrong, or because he's been manipulated to believe it. Mom, I've seen cases like this. Abusive parents are often very good at maintaining a perfect facade. They know how to present a clean home, a well-behaved child, a picture-perfect family. But what if I'm wrong? Then you'll apologize and rebuild the relationship. But Mom, I trust your instincts. You're not a dramatic person. You don't make accusations lightly. If you felt something was wrong enough to make that call, there's probably something there." "I don't know anymore." Daniel made it sound like Lily is fine, like I'm just a bitter old woman who can't accept that she's not the center of everyone's universe. That's gaslighting, Mom, making you doubt your own perceptions and instincts. Don't fall for it. But I was falling for it. I was doubting everything. That afternoon, I decided to do something I probably shouldn't have done. I waited until I saw Jessica's car leave. She had a late meeting according to the calendar. I could sometimes see through their kitchen window. And then I walked across the street and knocked on the door. Daniel answered, his face hardening when he saw me. I said we needed space. I know, but please just give me 5 minutes. Let me talk to Lily. Let me see with my own eyes that she's okay. Then I'll leave you alone. Absolutely not. You're not going to interrogate my daughter. Daddy, Lily's voice came from behind him, bright and curious. Is that Grandma? Daniel's jaw tightened, but he stepped aside. Lily appeared in the doorway, wearing leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, her dark hair in a messy ponytail. Grandma, she smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Did you come to visit? Hi, sweetheart. I just wanted to see how you were doing. I'm okay. Her voice was soft, uncertain. She glanced up at Daniel. Lily, why don't you go upstairs and work on your homework? Daniel said. But I want to talk to Grandma. Upstairs, now. The sharpness in his tone made us both flinch. Lily's face fell, and she turned without another word and trudged up the stairs. Daniel turned back to me, his expression angry. See what you've done? She's confused and upset because strange people came to school and asked her weird questions. She thinks she did something wrong. Daniel, I just want to help. You've helped enough. Please leave. Can I at least give her the blanket back? The one Clum made. She must miss it. The blanket is gone, Mom. Jessica threw it away because Lily doesn't need it anymore. She's growing up. You need to accept that and stop trying to keep her as your little baby. It's not about keeping her as a baby. It's about preserving a connection to her grandmother who died. It's a blanket, Mom, just fabric and thread. Not some magical talisman. Let it go. Let us go. We need space from this drama. He closed the door in my face. I stood on his porch for a long moment, feeling more alone than I'd felt since Cla died. Then I walked back across the street to my empty house. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my mind. The note, Daniel's anger, the case worker's visit, Lily's face when Daniel had snapped at her to go upstairs. Had I seen fear in her eyes? Or just normal childish disappointment at not getting to visit with her grandmother? Around 2 a.m., I got out of bed and retrieved the blanket from my linen closet. I spread it on my bed and examined every inch of it by lamplight, looking for clues I might have missed. The tears were definitely not normal wear. They looked like they'd been made by scissors or a knife, small, deliberate cuts. And the embroidery that Cla had so carefully stitched was coming undone in several places, as if someone had picked at it. Why would Jessica do that? Even if she wanted Lily to outgrow the blanket, why damage it? Why not just put it away in storage? Unless she knew about the note. Unless she'd discovered it and torn the blanket trying to find it, or damaged it out of anger. Or unless I was reading sinister intent into innocent accidents. I didn't know anymore. I didn't trust my own judgment. Thursday morning, I woke to find a car parked in front of my house. The same dark blue sedan from before, the case worker. I threw on my robe and answered the door when she knocked. Mrs. Hayes, I'm Linda Patterson. I'm the case worker assigned to investigate the report you made. May I come in? I let her in and offered her coffee, which she accepted. We sat at my kitchen table, and she pulled out a tablet and a notepad. Mrs. Hayes, I need you to tell me everything again. I want to hear it in your own words with as much detail as you can remember. So I told her everything again. Found the blanket, the note, my concerns, the confrontation with Jessica, Daniel's anger. She listened carefully, occasionally making notes. Do you still have the blanket and the note? She asked. Yes, I kept them exactly as I found them, like my daughter suggested. Your daughter? Rebecca, she's a family law attorney. She advised me to preserve everything as evidence. Smart, may I see them? I retrieved both items from where I'd hidden them. Mrs. Patterson examined the note carefully, took photos of it, then examined the blanket with the same attention to detail I'd given it the night before. These tears, she said, running her finger along one of the cuts. You're right, these aren't from normal wear, these look deliberate. So I wasn't imagining things. No, you weren't. She looked up at me, her expression serious. Mrs. Hayes, I need to be honest with you. The home visit yesterday was inconclusive. The home was very clean, very orderly. Lily appeared healthy and well cared for, but there were some things that concerned me. What things? I can't share specifics, confidentiality rules, but I will say that this investigation is ongoing. The case isn't closed. My son said you found nothing, that everything was fine. That's what Mrs. Hayes, Jessica, believes I found, but investigations take time. We don't always show our hand immediately. She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. Mrs. Hayes, has Lily ever said anything to you directly about being hurt or scared? No, she's always seemed happy when I see her, but I've seen less and less of her over the past year. Jessica has. She's made it difficult. How so? She's always had reasons why I can't see Lily. Too much homework, too many activities, Lily's tired, we're busy. At first, I tried to be understanding, but it's gotten more extreme. Before this week, I hadn't actually spent time alone with Lily in over a month. And before, how often did you see her? At least once a week, usually more. After Claire died, I was very involved in Lily's life. She was only 4 then, and she was grieving for her grandmother. I tried to fill that void. And Jessica didn't like that. She tolerated it at first, but she started making comments about me, interfering, or undermining their parenting. If I gave Lily a cookie before dinner, Jessica would make a point of telling me I was teaching her bad habits. If I let her stay up 15 minutes past bedtime, I was being disrespectful of their rules. Did you feel like those concerns were valid? I thought about it. Some of them, maybe. I was probably being too indulgent sometimes, trying to be the fun grandma. But it felt like Jessica wanted to control every aspect of Lily's life, including her relationship with me. Mrs. Patterson made more notes. Mrs. Hayes, I'm going to need to keep the blanket and the note as evidence. I'll give you a receipt for both items. Is that acceptable? Yes, of course, whatever you need. And I need you to do something for me. I need you to write down every incident you can remember over the past 3 years that seemed off, seemed concerning, seemed like it might be relevant. Dates if you can remember them, details, anything. Can you do that? Yes, but Mrs. Patterson, what happens now? My son has banned me from seeing my granddaughter. If something is wrong, how will I know? How will I be able to help? You've already helped by making the report. Now you have to trust the process. We're going to continue investigating. We'll be speaking with Lily's teachers, her pediatrician, possibly other family members. We'll be making unannounced visits to the home. If there's abuse happening, we'll find it. And if you don't find anything, then your relationship with your son and granddaughter might be damaged for a while. But Mrs. Hayes, you made a call that could save a child's life. Even if it turns out to be nothing, you did the right thing by erring on the side of caution. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting a child. After she left, I sat down with a notebook and started writing. Everything I could remember that had seemed odd or concerning. The time Lily had flinched, when Jessica raised her voice suddenly. The time I'd noticed Lily had stopped talking about her day, when Jessica was in the room. The bruises Jessica had always had explanations for. The way Lily had become more subdued over the past year, less spontaneous, more careful. The time Jessica had snapped at Lily for spilling milk, calling her stupid and clumsy. The gradual isolation from me and other family members. The list grew longer than I'd expected. Individual incidents that had seemed minor at the time, but together painted a concerning picture. Or was I just seeing patterns where none existed? Was I so desperate to justify my call to CPS that I was turning normal parenting moments into abuse? I didn't know, but I wrote it all down anyway. The next week passed in a strange limbo. I didn't hear from Daniel or Jessica. The only glimpses I got of Lily were from my window, getting on the school bus in the morning, coming home in the afternoon, occasional sightings playing in their backyard. She looked normal, happy even, not like a child living in an abusive home. Rebecca called every day to check on me. "Stop second-guessing yourself," she said on Friday. "You did what you had to do. Now you wait and see what the investigation turns up." But what if it turns up nothing? What if I've destroyed my relationship with Daniel for no reason?